Now, without further delay, I'd like to turn today's call over to your first speaker, Usman Sindhu. Usman, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. I would like to thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Best Practices for Automating Asset Discovery and Management. My name is Usman Sindhu, and I'm a Technical Product Marketing Manager at ServiceNow. Joining me today is Sri Subramaniam from the ServiceNow Product Management Team. He has 15 years of experience in IT operations with hands-on expertise in CMDB, software asset management, discovery, and service mapping applications. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items for you. We'll have a brief Q&A session towards the end. If you have a question, please share it via the Q&A panel located at the right-hand side of your screen. We are recording today's event, so you'll get a link to the recording in your email in a few days. Also, check out the resource tab where we have some product collateral and best practice information for you to check out. So let's, with the introductions in place, let's look at the agenda really quickly. First, I will walk you through some of the increasing complexity for the operations teams. We'll look at the visibility challenges that are causing this complexity. I'll share some best practices on how to automate asset discovery and management that we have learned from our customers. Then Sri will walk us through a detailed analysis of how ServiceNow Discovery and Software Asset Management work together. He will also show us a demo, and then we will wrap it up with a brief Q&A. So let's get into the content now. So many of the organizations we talk to on a regular basis have visibility challenges that can lead into three challenges in the three areas of challenges primarily. First and foremost, not knowing what software you have means that what is a risk of unknown liabilities when you get audited by one of your software providers such as Oracle, IBM, and Microsoft. For example, the likelihood of an organization experiencing 2 or more audits is as high as 68%. And these could result into millions of true-up fines that you may not have visibility into today. Secondly, the reverse might also be true when you are overspending millions of dollars on the software that you're not using. This is something also you don't know in today's environment. And this could represent, for example, software could represent about 20% of IT budgets. And managing it is so complicated in the environments as they get complex and dynamic on every day. And thirdly, not having visibility can also be a challenge when you have multiple service and operations management platform running, and they are not connected to a software asset management process. For example, you have legacy tools or you manage this process in spreadsheets. The cost of getting visibility into all of this data can be really, really high. For example, if you don't have a data in one single configuration management database that can hamper your ability to create an intelligent operations, it can also hamper your ability to understand the data center software. Now, to solve these challenges, ServiceNow offers a 3-step approach. Our customers typically follow this journey based on their needs and business goals. So first and foremost, the step is visibility, where we enable customers to have a complete understanding of their IT state. We provide horizontal and vertical discovery to map services to the underlying infrastructure. We also discover software deployed in the data center that aids in understanding software usage and compliance positions. The second step is the help. And here we are looking at when you collect events from multiple monitoring sources and aggregate them to alerts, incidents, and drive resolution. We identify service disruptions that enable operations to resolve them with reduced mean times to repair. This is also where we enhance software governance and compliance policies. And third step is where we optimize your cloud and software spend by analyzing rich data from your users. In today's webinar, we're going to focus on the first step, which is visibility. So let's look into the visibility step in a lot more detail. So without a CMDB as your central source of truth, in the same place where you run software asset management, getting visibility to software throughout your life cycle can be really challenging. There are often disconnects through the organizations that can make managing software through its life cycle very complex. Understanding what software you have and where it's running are simple questions. However, they can be very hard to answer when you have disconnected tools. Just remember that only 23% of customers are fully satisfied with their legacy software asset management tools. Now, these legacy tools also require fragile integration that must be monitored, managed, and maintained at all time. When you are making these integrations, the result is inefficient IT patchwork that is ineffective to address the software visibility issue. Ultimately, you need to manage software deployments and its life cycle in tandem and in parts and parcel to overall IT processes. So often you can have these fragile integration or bolt-on integration between service management, operations management, and SAM processes, but they are very challenging. Historically, customers have tried to configure and maintain these integrations, but the issue is that the data is not real-time. For example, if you're exporting data from CMDB or other SAM tools, that can take weeks, so you don't have the data in real time. Other problems are that these data integrations are not process integration, and more often the process integration piece is missing. It's manual, and it never gets done. So even if you get to some software information in your spreadsheets or external software asset management tools, you're unable to kick it off any process around it to help your overall SAM program. So at ServiceNow, we think there's a better way to do this, and that is by bringing software asset management functionality onto the ServiceNow platform for our customers. So for the first time, ServiceNow SAM gives customers the ability to run software asset management natively with their IT service management and operations team. We recommend that with ServiceNow platform, you automate core SAM functionalities and enhance many tasks such as automated workflows to remediate underused software. And secondly, you should be able to operationalize that data back into the platform, into other areas like IT change or applications portfolio management, and other areas such as governance, risk, and compliance as well. When you run SAM on the same platform as IT, you can create game-changing revenue streams, and that can unlock future use cases as well. So now let's get into the visibility aspect of how IT operations enable that for you. So we believe that when you have ability to both discover and map your services in context with the business, that becomes game-changing. We can also map the data from third parties, from monitoring sources and discovery sources, such as application performance tool, which understands the map application environments. Our goal is to bring all of these sources of data in one place, and it's more accurate for your real-time view of your business services. We work seamlessly across on-premise and cloud operations for both traditional, physical, and virtual workloads, as well as the new containerized applications. So we can discover software, where it's deployed and who is using them. We also enable new patterns around AWS services, Azure services, Adobe ColdFusion services, and we are also able to get into Kubernetes environment to understand how containers are deployed. So all of this information should be present in one place that we call the CMDB. Now, ServiceNow platform is a powerful single system of record, and that's where an accurate CMDB is so essential to enforce compliance and governance across your environments. The ServiceNow CMDB is populated by three methods, essentially. We can do horizontal infrastructure discovery, or we can do top-down discovery mapping. And then we can also populate configuration items from third-party sources where they can be homegrown or from a vendor. The attributes of the configuration items are accurately and carefully populated only by the trusted sources. So you're looking at the quality data not in multiple repositories, but just in one place. And all of this data helps companies solve multiple use cases, including software auditing and compliance. So based on our work with IDC and other market research companies, we have found that IT executives want to have service visibility, health, and optimization to make an intelligent operations. This helps them have a rapid response to business service issues and improve software compliance. So this is consistent across the board where CIOs and IT leaders want to go next. So now let me talk to you a little bit about what are some of the steps that you can take to not only automate discovery, but also take that process into the normalization, which is a key factor in software asset management. First and foremost step is to have a reliable CMDB, and that happens with discovery that provides you the very first foundation. So we have developed and shared these best practices on how to strategize your CMDB, discovery, and software asset management normalization process. You can, in fact, see the links to these best practices in the resource tab. So the very first step, as you can see there, step 1 to 5, is to have a strategy. That's your step 1, where you lay foundation to your project. You also move on to the next steps where you're deploying mid-servers, designing a credential strategy, and defining discovery schedules. So this step 1 to 4 will help you, first of all, to identify networks, virtualization, storage, and core software relationships, and automate that process that automatically doing discovery for you on an ongoing basis. It's essential that you remove roadblocks to populating your CMDB, and therefore it's important for you to have access to the systems and schedules and the patterns that you're going to run to constantly update your CMDB. Once you automate your discovery process, the fifth step is the normalization, where you're comparing the discovered publisher, product, and version values in the discovery model against the ServiceNow repository. The extensive content library also aids in the normalization process to understand what is discovered in your environment. Now, Shri will go in a lot more detail here, but once you set up an automated discovery with the normalization process, you'll see huge impact on the software visibility and usage immediately. That will quickly give you bottom line savings. And as you mature these processes, your focus should shift to long-term compliance and standardizing software asset management across multiple organizations. So now, based on these best practices, let me walk you through some of the customer examples. The first example I have here is from Raymond James, which is a long-time ServiceNow customer. Let me say a little bit about from Raymond James, what one of the IT asset management says about this product. So they were using an asset management tool that wasn't built for software asset management, and this is directly from this asset manager. They saw an opportunity to modernize as a way to keep pace with the changes in software licensing models. They manually reconciled the compliance verifications and tracked software installs. Very common when customers start with this discovery and software asset management journey. They were using 4 unintegrated tools, and they have manual processes managing 250 requests per day. On top of it, their basic problem they wanted to get started was to understand underutilization of purchased software. Some of the objectives around this was they wanted to create a single system of record. They wanted to normalize software titles, and they also wanted to bring in SCCM integration for desktop discovery. So these are some of the objectives they have. So after deploying ServiceNow platform, they now have a single system of record for software asset management, along with streamlined processes. Because SAM is part of their overall ServiceNow platform strategy, they can tie directly into the IT processes such as service catalogs and configuration management. They can pull in information they need from a vendor audit right away, which is a big win, which actually used to take 2 weeks. So now with ServiceNow Discovery and reclamation capabilities, they have better visibility into actual licensing utilization. So those are some of the outcomes they have received. The biggest one, obviously, is eliminating 2 weeks of work per vendor audit. And they have gained significant savings by understanding the unused licenses in their environment. The next example we have is from an international energy company. And in this case, they have very similar issues with a lot of siloed tools. First and foremost, they wanted to identify what is installed and where. They didn't really have a great account of software installs. They couldn't leverage the data that they have for software purchase negotiations, and they were unable to determine license positions for the geo-specific software installs and licenses in their environment. Some of their objectives were to discover both endpoints and infrastructure devices. And just like Raymond James, they wanted to consolidate all of this information into one system of record and automate entitlements allocation during fulfillment. So after they deployed ServiceNow Platform SAM Discovery, they were able to understand these environments on the both infrastructure side, data center side, and also the endpoints. They brought in ServiceNow Discovery and also SCCM along with it. They can quickly identify what is installed in any device. And now they can use this data coming out for renewal negotiations, which is a big win for them. On top of it is the huge value stream they were able to uncover is leveraging software asset management data to do a better incident planning and change planning so they can improve their incident change processes as well. All right, with that introduction into the topic, let me pass it on to Sri, who is going to go in a lot more detail on how ServiceNow Discovery and Software Asset Management work together, and then we'll see a great demo at the end. Over to you, Sri.
Perfect. Thank you, Usman. Good morning, everyone. And again, when we think about CMDB, it is not just an operational imperative. It is a strategic initiative, and ServiceNow platform altogether adds a lot of value. Right? And when we think about CMDB, we need to populate CIs like server information, install software, running process, and then we have other topology relationships we wanted to populate. And there are multiple ways to do it. Some customers have gone through the way of manually identifying critical servers and workstations and populating that into CMDB. And majority of our customers have adopted ServiceNow Discovery solution to populate the CMDB data. And ServiceNow Discovery offers an agentless solution with which we will be able to discover the holistic topology view of your IT infrastructure, irrespective of whether if it is running in cloud or in containers. And when we think about the three major pillars of your infrastructure, which include servers, network, and storage, we'll be able to discover all the critical elements in topology data into CMDB using agentless protocol. And when we think about discovery, majority of products in the market are very good at collecting inventory data, which is the first column of discovery, where we just need to identify what critical elements are there in the infrastructure, like an inventory of servers, virtual servers, or databases, applications running on them. This is pretty much a generic inventory data. But what ServiceNow Discovery is, again, the market leader is in the dependency mapping and also the service mapping components. So in case of a dependency mapping, using ServiceNow Discovery, we'll be able to understand the topology relationships between all these critical components. Service mapping is one of our capability where with an entry point, you'll be able to detect the topology view of your applications and all the connectivity which can be fully automated and discovered and populated into CMDB. So this is just a quick introduction to our ServiceNow Discovery product, but the meat of this discussion is like how this can be leveraged for asset management use cases. Let's start something very basic, hardware asset management. It's been there in the ITIL world for a long time because when we think about assets, we need to manage these assets. Majority of assets are discoverable, and people in the community and all our customers leverage some kind of an automated way of populating this asset data into hardware asset management solution within ServiceNow. And what it offers is like a complete life cycle of this hardware assets and connecting these assets with the CMDB data so that whenever discovery goes and identify an server or a network device or a storage, then you have the last updated timestamp, you have visibility to the inventory data, you have visibility to all the topology data, and the asset management process can fully be automated to its best. And mainly discovery plays a vital role in the IMAC process. When the asset gets deployed, that's a place where discovery plays a vital role in discovering the IT infrastructure using the agentless credentials, and it populates the data into CMDB. Once that data gets created in CMDB, then the asset management can use this data till the end of the life cycle of that asset. This is again fully supported within ServiceNow, and what we do very well is we also create an abstracted layer for all the hardware models. So when we discover all the physical machines and virtual machines, mainly for the physical machines, we would like to get an abstracted view. Like in this example, when we discover many Dell Inspiron 15 model, then all those configuration items which we have fully discovered, we created a hardware model which then can be used by the hardware asset management group to manage this model of asset, where we have IT financial management, which looks at ITFM-like use cases like cost of an asset, what is the salvage value. You can look at decomposition of an asset, or once the life cycle ends, how to even add a purchase order when the asset is life cycle is not there, and so on. But also there are other use cases, interesting use cases, where customers use this hardware model data to get full visibility. One such use case is leveraging this hardware model data to directly integrate with Service Portal. So in this case, if we have a laptop and we have a hardware model, it's very easy to publish this hardware model to a Service Portal view, which then can be used as an end-user portal, and the entire lifecycle management of requests to fulfill can be fully automated with this simple workflows. The other critical elements which is part of ServiceNow is like we have contract management, we have a full-fledged procurement application too, which can help you to automate some of the sourcing requests which you have with the same hardware model, which clearly shows you how powerful ServiceNow platform is when it comes to workflow automation. All the current use cases and capabilities which I discussed is all with hardware asset management, right? And there are like many products in the industry, but the place where ServiceNow is really standing out in the competition is it's one platform, and we all offer connected workflows, and the data is very native to the platform. And there's no concept of integrations. configuration management and asset management work very tightly coupled, and it works great in another. But the meat of this webinar is all about software asset management. Software asset management is a specialized segment, and when it comes to SAM, the challenges what we see in the industry are a bit more complex. It's not just about collecting inventory data and then working on a SAM solution. It's all about understanding each and every publisher. Because when it comes to big publishers like, say, Oracle or Microsoft or VMware or Citrix, the licensing policies are completely different, and the way they calculate the compliance is different. So it's imperative for a discovery data to understand what data we need to collect for which use cases, so that the data can be best used by the software asset management product to, again, provide compliance view. So here I have highlighted some of the critical elements on the left side of the discovery. And what we recommend for customers is, like, when it comes to SAM, there are always two sides. One is we wanted to provide a software asset management for a desktop workstation like solutions of SAM products. But also there is a data center side where we have many publishers which we use in day-to-day life, like VMware or Microsoft and Oracle. And there's a compliance side to it. And for those use cases, we recommend ServiceNow Discovery. And for the desktops and workstations, we have connections with SCCM, JAMF, which will provide you ability to collect the inventory data and then provide a compliance view. So let's look at a deep dive into some of the publisher pack specific use cases. When it comes to the data center use case, any inventory product can collect basic data information about the compute layer, about the installed software, like what products are installed, what version of product is installed. But there's also an edition component which plays a vital role when it comes to products like SQL Server or Oracle database, because there's a huge price difference between a standard edition and an enterprise edition of Oracle database. So it's imperative to collect that right edition information. And also the topology data is very vital for some of the use cases. When we think about Oracle, the way they license their product when Oracle is deployed in AWS versus Azure is completely different. Similarly, when the Oracle database workloads are deployed with a VMware solution, again the licensing compliance calculations are completely different. The way, again, the points needs to be calculated is again defined by Oracle. So it's imperative to understand not just that Oracle is deployed on a virtual machine, but also we need to understand the topology of this virtual machine infrastructure, like a VM is part of which ESX pool, how many total number of cores are available in this pool, and so on. So the topology data becomes very vital for this use case. And there are product-specific, publisher-back-specific data collection that has to happen. Here I have highlighted some of the critical ones, like, say, for instance, Oracle, we have to collect Oracle options. What options are installed, what options are in use. Similarly, products like VMware, where if you think about a product like vCenter, then we need to collect all the inventory data about all its ESX machines, and we have to collect an inventory of its license keys and where the license keys are deployed. And similarly, Citrix, again, adds a different level of compliance, because if you take products like Citrix XenApp, you can virtualize your software like, say, Microsoft Visio. And when it comes to compliance, you need to clearly understand how many number of unique users and unique sessions are happening over time, so that when it comes to the compliance of all the products that are deployed in Citrix, then we will be able to calculate the data in near real time. So these are all the biggest challenges which we see when it comes to the data center specific products. And for that reason, we recommend ServiceNow a discovery solution where the discovery patterns are available and the extensions are available, which clearly understands what data we need to collect for the critical SAM use cases. On the software asset management side, once the data is collected and populated into CMDB software installation table, the data has to be normalized. As I said, if an organization can have multiple discovery products, like even in our case, like we recommend SCCM and then ServiceNow Discovery together working for data center and desktop related SAM use cases. The way ServiceNow Discovery collects a publisher and product name is completely different from SCCM inventory data. So we need to normalize the publisher and product and all the model information to then use this data for the software asset management reconciliation process. And this kind of process is very, very vital because the normalization adds a lot of value, and we're going to do a deep dive into how SAM does the normalization for these use cases in the live demo. So here's a quick preview of how we think about software normalization. What we have done with ServiceNow platform is we have created a community-based content collection and distribution service. Every customer instance, customer has the ability to opt in to share the unnormalized data set, and using this information, we can collect critical information like unnormalized discovery data, procurement data, lifecycle data, and it goes to our content library service, where a content service team will look at the unnormalized data set, which is again coming as anonymous to them, and they'll be able to create more and more content library to normalize the data, and the library is sent back to customer instances on weekly basis. So for all our existing ServiceNow SAM customers, they are able to leverage this capability, and they're extremely happy with this service because it not only gives them their own personalized service, but on top of it, because it's community driven, the value they get from this service really helps them to accelerate their maturity with the software asset management solution. So a quick summary view is like we think about all the critical publisher packs, and I have quickly highlighted some of the publisher packs that are available with the London release. We support the critical publisher packs like Microsoft, Oracle, IBM, VMware, Adobe, and Citrix with the software asset management. For IBM, for the subcapacity measurements, IBM has recommended to collect this data from their own product of choice, which is ILMT or IBM BigFix solution, for which SAM product has created an integration layer which will help you to collect this subcapacity measurements directly from the IBM recommended discovery source. But for the other critical elements, you can clearly see ServiceNow Discovery plays a vital role in collecting the right data sets for automating your software asset management use cases. Now, let's look at a live demo on this solution. So here, I'm highlighting a software asset management overview dashboard, which shows you the overall true-up cost, publisher compliance view, and the potential savings from optimizing the software spend for the major publishers. And there are drill-down information available in the subsequent tabs. The publisher overview dashboard is primarily tailored for the critical publishers which we support out of box. The critical ones like Microsoft, Oracle, IBM, Citrix, where the dashboard provides you quick insights into product out of compliance, the total true-up cost, which then be calculated from the reconciliation process, and then the overall over-licensed amount, which is pretty much looking at the current usage and then detecting this data. Potential savings is a very interesting use case, which is, again, I'm going to do a live demo on how you can leverage the SCCM integration to collect this data. But on top of it, software asset management also provides life cycle data of your software products, like the end of life, end of support, where the compliance view is one such thing, which is not only giving you the compliance related information, but also the life cycle data enriches the data sets with more valuable insights, which then be used by other products within the ServiceNow platform like IT business management, where a technology portfolio management can give you a quick highlight on the risk about this specific product and how it affects your business unit. So the publisher dashboards is again tailored for each and every single publisher. Like in this case, like VMware dashboards provides a similar set of widgets for products out of compliance and true-up cost. But also we have added an audit-ready view for products like vCenter, because whenever there is a VMware vCenter audit, it is imperative to collect this critical audit-ready view where an auditor will expect you to deliver this report during the time of audit, which shows you the different product models for which you have entitlement for, but also you need to collect the license key information and the usage information drilled down by the ESX servers. Software asset management also supports SaaS-based subscription management. We have full support for Office 365 and Adobe Cloud, where the products will offer you a direct integration with Office 365 and Adobe Cloud user portals to collect all the subscription data and then tag them into subscribers and clearly look at optimization around unused subscriptions, looking at the current subscription trends and so on. But the foundational piece of software asset management is one side you have to collect all your software entitlements. These entitlements are the list of software which an organization has purchased, and here's a quick overview of all the list of subscriptions and the entitlements which has been purchased, and each subscription will have a metric group, which is again directly coming from our software asset management. And let's take a quick example of a Microsoft or an Oracle entitlement, and I'll quickly show you the critical elements which can be recorded with this entitlement. So when it comes to entitlement, again, you'll be seeing a license metric. These are all the list of metrics that are fully supported for that specific publisher pack, like when it comes to Oracle databases or WebLogic, then it's all about named user plus or per processor licensing metrics. So we fully support those metrics. But there are other publisher packs, like when it comes to Microsoft, for instance, you see all the different licensing metrics which we fully support for this specific publisher. And then the discovery data will be populated into CMDB, and using software models, we will be able to normalize the data models, and then we provide a reconciliation process which provides you a full compliance view of your solution. And we have an out-of-box license position report, which will help you to quickly look at a specific publisher on specific product and look at how compliant you are when it comes to that specific publisher report. So the other critical one I wanted to quickly highlight is with the SCCM integration. So with the out-of-box SCCM integrations, which is available within the product, we have the ability to collect software usage and metering data from your workstations. And the place where it becomes very handy is like as a software asset manager, you can go and define a reclamation rule, which then can be leveraged to collect the specific metric, usage metric for that product. And then with the powerful workflows, software asset management can create you reclamation candidates based on the low usage. So you can go and define a metric saying, I wanted to detect all the list of Photoshop installations which is not being used for a certain number of time. So then we collect that metric data into a ServiceNow platform. And then on top of it, our workflows can fully automate and orchestrate the removal of that product. And we also have the integration with SCCM so that the workflow can be easily triggered on demand or can be fully automated when it comes to things like blacklisted installations and so on. And the last one I wanted to highlight with the software asset management product is the option to contribute to the content service. So it's an opt-in program. Once a customer opts-in, then you can clearly define what content you wanted to contribute within the community. And 98% of our SAM customers have opted in, which clearly shows the power and trust they have within the ServiceNow platform community to enrich and build more and more content for normalization data. So now when it comes to CMDB and discovery, it is imperative to collect all this critical data, but I want to do a deep dive into a specific publisher pack, in this case, Oracle. Right? And when it comes to Oracle, I wanted to clearly differentiate how ServiceNow Discovery is standing out in the competition. As you can imagine that not just by collecting inventory data alone is enough, right? Because if an Oracle database is deployed on a cloud or if it is deployed on a virtual machine, then you need to get that kind of visibility first to understand the topology, but also you have other relationships within CMDB which has to be rightly populated so that the SAM can clearly do its compliance rule. ServiceNow Discovery offers full visibility to your on-premise cloud and your container infrastructure. So we can pretty much discover the AWS and Azure related components like the S3 buckets and the EC2 instances and Lambda functions and so on. But at the same time, the visibility should also come in terms of the topology and inventory data. So here in this example, we have detected an Oracle database fully deployed on a Windows machine, which is part of an AWS image directly coming from your AWS environment. So as you can see, this topology data is very, very vital for not only tracking all your critical applications that are deployed in cloud, but also it's imperative for your license compliance position. As you know, like the vendors follow different licensing standards, and this kind of data is going to completely help in terms of automating your license positioning for some products like Oracle. And also, Discovery has ability to collect all the other critical information, like clustering is one such area where in this example, like I have detected an Oracle clusterware, which is again a cluster solution directly fully supported by Oracle. But we provide visibility to all your cluster nodes, cluster resources, cluster virtual IP addresses. And when we think about a simple topology view of Oracle clusterware solution, so then it looks like something simple like this. where we have a cluster, we have all this cluster resources, but then you can imagine the power of the solution, because when we think about Oracle, it's not just deployed on a compute, because the compute behind the scene, it can be part of a cloud, it can be part of your virtual machine stack, or it can be part of a clusterware solution, which is then important for your critical visibility and other use cases. The final one I wanted to show you is like how easy it is to collect this data and then report this data using CMDB Query Builder. So here, for instance, you can easily build a CMDB query, like saying, hey, I have all this list of computers, and I wanted to see all the list of computers that have an Oracle database connected to it. And when we run this report, so you can visualize all the current inventory data and all its version. Not only that, but also even a complicated topology like VMware. As I said, when it comes to the VMware vCenter licensing, we need to have this topology relationships like computer connected to a virtual machine, which is having, again, provision from an ESX pool, and which is, again, part of a data center and the vCenter instances. So when we think about all this topology data, then the reporting becomes very vital, and then with CMDB Query Builder, you'll be able to easily visualize them and collect this data as well. And the last one I'll show you is like an Oracle database deployed on a Linux server, where we're just like trying to look at the clustering topology view. And just running this report, I can easily visualize all the Oracle databases deployed on a clustering solutions. And it's tightly coupled with your platform reporting, which will allow you to export the reports, or you can also do things like group bys and filtering and search options and so on. A very powerful solution overall when it comes to not only discovering the inventory data, but also collecting all the other data like discovery within the cloud and containers, discovery with your virtual machines and VMware infrastructure for critical publisher pack updates. And the final comment I wanted to make is like we have completely decoupled the discovery patterns, which is again the foundational blocks for running a discovery. And it is a bi-monthly update, and it is fully supported for your existing publisher packs. So if you are in Jakarta, Kingston, and London, so you can easily go to ServiceNow Store, search for, discover the patterns which we have published via Store. And a quick link in the documentation site will also give you all the list of patterns which we support via Store. And just get benefit out of this. It's going to give you more and more content on bi-monthly basis. And we directly work with customers on the contents which they wanted to build. And the codeless platform will allow them to easily gather all this data using our discovery technology. So now going back to so Usman, I'm going to give you the floor to you for the final thought.
Sure. Yep. Thanks, Sri. Thanks a lot for that great demo. So just recapping before we go to Q&A, that your visibility actually starts with a common platform that aggregates both IT and software data in one place. I think that was a key takeaway of today's conversation. So with that, we will move into the Q&A. There's a lot of great questions, so I apologize up front if we cannot get to all of them. So Sri, there are many questions, so let me start with a few of them. So first and foremost, there's a question on discovering assets such as IP phones without adding them into CMDB and without identifying them as CIs. Is there a way to do that?
Yeah, the answer is yes. We support credential-less discovery using Nmaps. Majority of our customers use Nmap data to discover IP phones. and then they populate them into CMDB. But at the same time, some of the customers have also written custom pattern-based solution to collect IP phone data, because the pattern offers codeless framework and it's very easy to extend the pattern once you have SNMP access to your IP phones.
Okay, great. Here's a question on VMs. So when discovering VMs, what do you discover first? Do you go with the management service such as Hyper-V or vCenter, or you actually go to the VMs first? What's the best practice in discovering VMs?
Yeah, what we recommend is directly connecting to your management layer. With the VMware, for instance, all we need is like a vCenter credentials, and with the vCenter access, we can collect the holistic view of the VMware with the APIs. Like similarly for cloud, all we need is service accounts to AWS and Azure, and these are all read-only accounts which will help to collect the topology data. But when you put a MID inside your VPC, or when the MID is scanning all your virtual machines, then we make that logical connection between the actual compute, which has detailed information like running process services, with the data, metadata, which we collected from the service account and the vCenter discovery.
Cool. What's the difference between the CIs in CMDB and asset in CMDB? So is there a difference how we tag the asset versus the typical infrastructure?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. Unlike other products, like they have clearly differentiated configuration management and asset management separately. But when it comes to ServiceNow platform, CMDB CIs and asset are tightly coupled. So that means when you create a CMDB CI, it automatically creates an asset data and vice versa. So that means in the asset management process, when an asset record is created during the time of purchase, so then the configuration item is created, but it doesn't have much information until it gets deployed and discovered. So that's the power of a solution where you see this process tightly coupled, and these two are two different CIs and assets are two different elements, but you see a tightly coupled data connection between these two.
Okay, so here's a kind of pricing question. There are a lot of questions on publisher packs that you showed. So our publisher packs that you showed for Oracle, VMware, others, are add-on options or built into Discovery license? How do people get access to those?
Yeah, software asset management is a separate subscription. It was introduced in Jakarta. And from Jakarta, we have been adding more and more publisher packs via software asset management. But what we saw today is like how discovery data can be used to enable your software asset management use cases, and how tightly coupled our solutions are. So they have symbiotic relationships. It will help you to quickly start your SAM strategy if you have a discovery solution.
Here's the best practice question. Do you recommend collecting data through discovery first before configuring SAM?
And I've seen like customers doing both sides, because you need an asset management first. Things like software entitlements, understanding all your contracts, these are all imperative for any asset management products. But the discovery question comes on the second phase, where when we have the mid-service, when we were able to discover all the topology data, then you'll be able to easily connect a dot between what you have purchased versus what is available. And then using the publisher pack licensing metric, you can automate this process easily.
Okay. Is there similar capability available to discover Macs, such as Jamf Pro and maybe other tools?
Right. So we have an out-of-box integration which is available via store.servicenow.com, and the provider Jamf itself has written this integration, which will help you to populate Mac inventory data into your system. But our ServiceNow Discovery can also help you to discover Macs if you have an agentless credentials to discover them. And some customers are leveraging that feature as well.
Okay, I think I have room for one more. Can we use Oracle Enterprise Manager in a similar way like SCCM is used for SAM? So we're collecting utilization data metrics from Oracle Enterprise Manager?
Yeah, so we looked at Oracle Enterprise Manager, and what we can find is like it can give you basic inventory data, but for the compliance use case for Oracle, we need to understand much more deep level data like the CPU model, the total number of cores, is hyper-threading is on or off, is the Oracle part of your virtual machines, VMware clusters, or if it is deployed in AWS. For all the different use cases, we found that like OEM is not providing that data set, so maybe it's easy to start with your ServiceNow Discovery and then connect OEM to probably enrich some of the other data source for other use cases like even event management.
Okay, great. One last question is the content service that you showed, is that anonymous?
Yes, it is. It's an opt-in. It's not forced, and you can also opt out anytime. But the download of the content is going to be available for all SAM professional customers.
All right, great. So everyone, this is all the time we have for questions. I apologize we couldn't get to all of them, but we will follow up with you separately. So thanks a lot for joining today's webinar. Please check the resource widget for extra information. And also, don't forget to fill out the survey. With that, thanks and thank you. Bye.